Hi, I'm James Davis.
And I'm Claire Davis.
We're the Midlife Mentors, here to lift the lid on how to achieve health and happiness.
The balanced, no-nonsense way. Hello, it's Claire here.
And it's James.
Live from Ibiza. This is another podcast for the Midlife Mentors. And today we are going to talk about fad diets, but specifically the keto diet. And if you haven't heard of the keto diet, we are going to explain what it is and what it's all about. But I would say, where have you been? Because it's the biggest thing out there at the moment of fad diets, and we get asked about it a lot, so we thought we'd do a whole podcast on it.
That's the reason we're going to talk about it today. A lot of clients present to us asking about the keto diet. They've tried it, or they're doing it, or they've heard about it, and
they're seeing loads of people getting results on it.
And so it's quite an interesting one. What we'll do, first of all, explain what the keto diet is. So the keto diet is a low carbohydrate diet. You might remember a few years ago we had the Atkins.
Quite a few years ago now, actually. Scarily so.
Scarily long time ago. And everyone was going crazy for eating cheese and weeing on bits of paper to see if they were in ketosis or not.
It sounds the weeing bit doesn't sound amazing, but for me who loves, I'm quite a carnivore, so the whole cheese and meat thing sounded really appealing.
Yeah, so that was a diet that was really popular, and people were like, this is amazing, I can just eat loads of like fatty foods and lose weight. But then a lot of people started to develop some other side effect complications from eating like high fat diets.
Including the guy that created
Including the guy that created it. And it gradually phased out. Now keto is the reinvention essentially of that approach.
Exactly.
So, but now we've replaced saturated fats with healthier fats. But essentially, you dial back all the carbohydrates in your diet and primarily focus on protein and healthy fats. So that's the keto in a nutshell.
Yeah, and why is everyone banging on about the whole ketosis thing? Let's just explain how our body uses energy. That might be a helpful starting point to explain why it's gathered so much momentum.
And why we don't like it. So here's the thing. Our bodies are designed to run on carbohydrate energy. That is our preferred energy source. It's how we've evolved. We do have a backup system. When food is scarce and we can't get sufficient food, we will go into a state called ketosis, which is where we will burn fat for energy. Fat becomes the primary energy source. Now, evolutionary-wise, this was designed as a backup system, obviously.
Backup.
But people have found, like by playing around and experimenting, that if they can get into this ketone state, they will burn body fat, which sounds great, right? The thing is, when you do a keto diet, will you lose a lot of weight very quickly? Probably. Is there any difference between that approach and a standard calorie-controlled approach over the longer term?
Yeah.
Definitely not.
No, and I think that's why we particularly do hate, and I say hate because it's a strong word, but we really do hate it because of all the smoke and mirrors behind it. Like all fad diets, they play on people's lack of knowledge, and there's a lack of education around why diets, full stop, work. All these fad diets work. So the keto diet is really pushed in the media by celebrities as being the thing that has helped them lose all their weight, get a banging body, blah, blah, blah. But what most of you guys don't necessarily know out there is nothing secret or special to these diets. They only work because you are in a calorie deficit, which you can create without all these fads, without all the negative health implications that we're going to talk about, especially around the keto diet. So that's why we get so frustrated with it, because, you know, they're basically lying to you about what the diet's about and why it's getting results.
So we're getting to the nub there of why we don't like it, because you might be thinking, hold on a minute, you're saying you can lose loads of weight really fast. Well, why don't Claire and James like this? Well, here we go. It's not actually a diet, it's a lifestyle. You cannot dip in and out of this. To get your body into a state of ketosis actually takes quite a lot of effort to get there and a lot of effort to maintain it. It also means you basically got to kiss your social life goodbye. Suddenly meals out are out the window.
We don't think have a social life.
And there's just
We
so
could
many
do it because
foods-
we don't have a social life.
So many foods you can't eat. It's not sustainable for the long term for the majority of people. And the reason it's a lifestyle is because people have become really rabid about it. There's like real evangelists and disciples and advocates, to the extent, the Lancet, the medical journal, did a massive study on this, like
This is fascinating
over
stuff.
15,000 people. And there's all these advocates of keto dismissing it, saying that the research is flawed. So it's a lifestyle thing. And the other thing is there's a lot of dishonesty around it. As it's become more popular, you'll see more and more influencers promoting the keto lifestyle, the keto diet.
It's
and you see
everywhere.
things like, keto people posing with beers and going, I'm still enjoying beer on the keto life. No, you're not.
Because it's got
No, you're
carbs
not.
in.
Listen, I sit, because of what we do, I sit in lots of different training and nutrition groups and follow people. And in the keto groups, people are literally obsessing about, I had a can of diet soda and then I did my wee test and I've come out of ketosis. Will a diet soda take me out? And people are like going in, some will, some won't.
It's crazy, guys. It's really crazy.
Yet you're meant to believe you can happily chug away on some beers and stay in ketosis.
There's actually a lady over in Australia. I'm not going to mention names, but she is a really, really famous fitness influencer in America. In Australia. She's got hundreds of millions of followers. So this really, really upset me. She jumped on the keto bandwagon about 6 months ago, creating a keto diet that actually she didn't, a nutritionist did, but she's peddling it. It's a keto diet. And actually, when I digged a little bit deeper, she is saying you can eat cakes, you can eat sweets. These are part of her adverts on Facebook. You can eat cakes and sweets. And actually, she says this. She says, you can't exercise on this 4-week meal plan. You can't, basically, because it's so low in carbohydrate, which is your main fuel for your body. It's so low, she's actually saying you can't exercise with it. And she's a fitness professional. It's outrageous.
So you're starting to guess at some of the negative points here. Let's recap on what keto is. So it's a low carb approach, high protein, high fat. It will make you lose a lot of weight very quickly. Sounds great. You're thinking, well, why then? Why, Claire and James? If you're saying this isn't the route, then what is the route? So maybe let's address that first.
Yeah.
So we say what you want to do is create a calorie deficit, daily calorie deficit of between 350 to 650 calories a day. And remember, that's not that you have to eat 600 calories less or 500 calories less. There's two sides of the energy equation. There's the input side, what you're eating, and there's the output, moving. So you might just decide to eat 300 calories less and move 300
Which is
calories
what we
more.
hope you do, because we're massive advocates for both. Because if you're not exercising, you're not exercising that gorgeous heart of yours and that moving that gorgeous body of yours, and that's what we're designed to do. Be healthy from the inside out.
So there's lots of benefits to exercise, obviously, that we won't go into now, but lots of amazing positive benefits. But that regime followed would basically equate to around a pound of fat loss, not weight loss, fat loss per week. And this is really important. We want to make sure that we're addressing body composition, not weight. Like, none of us are really looking to lose muscle mass, right? We want to actually look and feel good. We just want to lose the body fat.
So stop relying on those scales to look at how much weight you've lost. Look at the fat loss.
And if we're just going with the calorie approach, it really means you can still pretty much eat anything. There was actually a guy that proved this by eating nothing but McDonald's for a month, but keeping himself in a calorie deficit while he did it. I mean, I'm not sure what his insides are like by the end of it, but he still lost body fat because he was in a calorie deficit.
Exactly.
So that just shows, and the way we'd approach it is to have, like, sensible, the 80-20 rule. We're more like 75-25.
We really are. Sometimes we're more like 60.
Eat healthily and then have your weekend whatever you want, and it really will still work for you.
Because it's mentally and physically happier and healthier for you to do it in a balanced way, basically.
So that's the approach, and doing that approach, you will obviously still be having like carbohydrates, proteins, fats. You will still have energy to function. You will still have concentration. You will still have patience, which is going to lead us in nicely to the downside of keto. So first, let's look at that Lancet study. So
this came out last year, didn't it? It was
did.
Fascinating, and actually we did kind of start raving about it everywhere.
So as we looked at over 15,000 people, and then they followed up over a number of years, and they were looking at carbohydrate ratios in the diet and mortality risk. And they were expecting that high levels of carbohydrate in a diet would be linked to a higher mortality risk. Obviously, if people are eating way too much carbohydrate, it's going to tend to be the bad stuff that we all want to avoid, the processed food, the pizzas, all that kind of stuff. And yeah, they found that. But what they actually found was a U-shaped curve. So they actually found a low carbohydrate diet,
which is less. In their cases, it was less than 40% carbs, wasn't it?
Yeah. So actually had a slightly higher mortality risk than the high carbohydrate, which was a massive surprise.
Ta-da!
So in this study, they were saying anything below 40% was low, anything above 70% was high. Another indicator, see, a lot of people are pushing like what they call primal or paleo keto, which is basically saying we're cavemen and we shouldn't be eating grains and stuff like that because we haven't evolved enough from our thousands of years of farming. So we should be just consuming animal meat and whatever we could forage, so leaves. So interestingly, when you go low carb, if your diet is high in animal proteins and fats, the mortality risk is increased again. So they're saying that if you're going low carb and you want to lower your mortality risk, you should be going for vegetable sources of protein and fats. We're not surprised really if you think about it. The big surprise was the lowest mortality risk is moderate carbohydrate intake. Between 50 to 55% of your diet is carbohydrates.
Yeah.
And that makes sense because we're designed to run on carbohydrate energy, so 50% of your energy needs coming from the main source. Makes sense, right?
But like James said, listen, it does work. James has done a proper kind of keto diet, really, haven't you? I've tried pretty much every diet under the sun in my 20s, other than the keto diet. But James has done it. He'll probably kind of explain some of the good and bad effects. I mean, thank goodness I wasn't with him at the time because we're going to talk about some of the negative side effects, but grumpiness is one of them.
Yes, so when you go into ketosis, to get your body into ketosis, you basically have to drop all the sugar levels in your body. So you cut out carbohydrates pretty much entirely for around 7 days plus. So you're just eating meat and a few leafy greens, basically. And then you can start to introduce smaller amounts of other stuff, but it's still very, very restrictive. Now, what I found was it made me incredibly bad-tempered, incredibly impatient, and lack of concentration and focus.
Like you're always
more than normal. Oh, here we go.
Normal. You still want it, darling?
Yeah, very fun. And this is really common.
Sorry, you can hear Lola, our Pomeranian, scratching in the background. It's very nice. Thanks, Lola.
There's a really common thing called keto flu. It's described as keto flu, which is these symptoms which are nausea, headaches, fatigue, and that's what comes from being in a state of ketosis because it's not designed as a long-term state for our bodies to be in. So that was my experience on it. We already said, look, you can lose a lot of weight very quickly. And here's the thing, weight. If we're not getting carbohydrates in, we're going to lose muscle mass. We're going to go into what we call a catabolic state and atrophy. We're going to lose muscle mass. Over 12 to 24 months, you'll get no significant difference in weight loss between the sensible approach we suggest and a keto approach. Now, where it gets really interesting is when you start to look at a lot of the people that are the keto gurus.
So This is one of the things that, again, just I get sent stuff by clients, actually, just saying, Claire, look at this, look at what I've seen on Facebook, because they know I will just get really cross and probably have a rant, but I'm going to refrain from doing that because it's just not the time or place. But one of the other things that just sets us off on it's crazy. These people that are keto disciples, keto advocates, suddenly have realised that they are losing muscle mass, like James just said, that they're not able to go to the gym. So a lot of these are fitness influencers, fitness gurus, and they're going to the gym and they are losing muscle mass because they are keto disciples. So now what we have is something called targeted keto or strategic keto, which basically means they're on a keto diet the whole time, but then around their training, they eat carbohydrates because they realise the link between losing muscle mass and a lack of carbohydrates. So now they're completely going against what they were banging on about for so long and actually making an entire thing around targeted keto. Like, the dishonesty is just off the
It's
scale.
not just around the training. We spent a lot of time looking at these people, and they're like, keto's still great. But what I found was I wasn't able to put on any muscle mass. So what I do is just consume like carbs around my training, and that helps me
That's not keto.
have muscle. Also, at times I'm just really fatigued or tired, so then I'll just chuck some more carbs in. And you're like, oh, hold on, you've spent years telling everyone about this like amazing keto lifestyle that's amazing for you, yet you're admitting that around training, or even just when you're run down, you need to put carbs in. Isn't that telling you everything you need to know?
It really is. And one of the other, just talking about when they're saying they're lacking in energy, they're tired. One of the other main components of carbohydrate is that our brain works off carbohydrate energy. So if you have busy, stressful lives, midlifers, crazy busy lives, you need energy, you need concentration. If you cut out carbohydrates in your diet, I guarantee you will lack concentration. And they actually did a study on this with twins, didn't they? Where they fed, what was it,
so it's biologically identical twins. One was just on a normal diet, could eat what he wanted. The other one was doing a keto diet. And they put them in a trading room simulation. So they've got them to a trading floor, city trading floor, taught them how to trade, and then put them in simulation. The twin that was doing keto was just up. Like, he was just had his head in his hands. He's going, I literally cannot focus or concentrate.
Is it worth it? Seriously, is it worth it? In order to, this is what sends us crazy. Like, you can be so proud of your body, have a strong, healthy body without doing this stuff to everything. It has so many negative implications, and yet it's being hailed as the big thing.
And listen, this might sound like we're really bashing it, but the reason is it's being pushed so hard as like a miracle thing, and people are downplaying the downsides of it, the bad sides of it, the negative effects, of which there are many, and we've already covered some of them.
Yeah. Also, this is a nice one. This is a lovely one that we hear a lot about, because again, we get people talking to us about their experience. You basically flip-flop between constipation and diarrhea. Lovely. And one of the other ones is...
Sounds like you after kebab night.
Too much information, guys. And then you've got bad... I mean, you're just going to be horrible to be around, basically. And life is too beautiful of a thing to put yourself through this and everyone else around you. Bad moods, diarrhea, constipation, bad breath. I mean, what are we doing to ourselves?
So... in the fairness of balance, there are medical studies on keto, and it has been shown to help certain groups of people.
Yes.
There are two groups of people it helps. The morbidly obese.
For a quick fix.
Which is like, very, very obese. It can help them lose a lot of weight very quickly. And people with epilepsy, it helps control the symptoms and conditions of epilepsy, a ketogenic diet. Other than that, there's no other evidence saying it's beneficial at all to any other group. And more than that, we've already said, like, the keto state is a backup state. It's like running your car permanently on empty. We're not designed... There are still no long-term studies on the long-term health effects of keto.
Yeah, exactly. And one of the other things that we're going to talk to you about as well is these keto pills.
This is even better.
Yeah, this is actually taking it to a whole new level. So I think one of the pills was actually on Dragon's Den, or like an American version of Dragon's Den or something. Anyway,
I still get the emails with me. The miracle
pill. Okay, so these are raspberry ketone pills, whatever.
Not even from raspberries.
Not from raspberries. We don't care where they originated from, but they are the devil. I'm really, really fed up with them. Okay, again, was sent this by a client saying, Claire, look at this, knowing I was just going to fly. So these ketone pills, miracle pills, are designed to mimic the ketone state. So they actually, quote, say that they will take you into a ketone state just by taking this pill. There is not, as James said, there is not one single study that this has been done on with human beings. Mm-hmm. They're all mice. All mice. Lucky mice. Anyway, so what these pills do is basically play with your metabolism. They're messing with your metabolic rate. What they do is increase your leptin, your hormone leptin, which is your I am full hormone. Basically, it signals to your body, your brain, that you are full, right? So it increases that, making you crave less food. Then at the same time, it decreases ghrelin, which is your hunger hormone. So they're working together. Brilliant. Boom. Why wouldn't you want this pill? At the same time, because these hormones are being messed with, they are totally messing with your metabolic rate. To add to that, there are other ingredients in these pills, such as caffeine, green tea, ginger. These are all things that have been proven to stimulate your metabolic rate anyway. So it's full of these things that are messing with your body. And just before I finish and James jumps in, this is what really upsets me, is when you stop taking the pills, because they're actually quite expensive as well, by the way. When you stop taking the pills, because you're not going to be able to stay on it forever, the baseline of your ghrelin and your leptin, it basically bumps it back up. So you're going to be hungrier. Your ghrelin, which is your hunger hormone, spikes way higher than it was originally.
Yeah, your ghrelin baseline jumps up, so you just are hungrier.
And your metabolic rate has been screwed with.
Listen, the way these things are sold as well, this is why I want to educate you really and inform you, it's very seductive. The idea is that, you take what you call exogenous ketone, the ketone pill. And the idea is that you take that and it will somehow magically switch your body to fat burning.
It's just ridiculous.
When they sell it to you, they won't talk about the leptin and the ghrelin. They'll just say, take this and you'll burn body fat.
Yeah.
No human studies show that at all. It's mainly coming through this manipulation of your hunger hormones. And any metabolic spike is coming from the ingredients that you get in
the ginger,
standard cinnamon pills, like the caffeine, the green tea, the cayenne pepper, stuff like that. And think about it for a second. I mean, how they're sold is like, I want to be keto, but I've eaten a box of donuts.
Yeah, but that's actually what they're saying.
If I put a raspberry ketone in, it'll put me back to keto state.
But here's the thing, this is what is so distressing, is they are not educating you on a healthy, flexible diet. They're basically just saying, take this pill and don't think about it. You don't have to take responsibility for your own diet, your own health. Just take this tablet and bang. You won't need to think. You can carry on eating those donuts. What is that about? And why are the media, why are celebrities, why are they all backing this absolute nonsense?
Let's talk about the last negative point of keto before we wrap up.
The fact that it's restrictive.
I think the main one for us is we want to give approaches to people that are enabling them to live balanced and happy lives and that's sustainable over the long term. And this isn't. So this is an important point. Like if we're going the calorie restriction route, sensible approach, you know what? If you have a day where you splurge and you eat loads, all you need to do is basically exercise a bit harder or just dial your calories back the following day, right? Have a lighter day, then over 3 or 4 days, you'll stay on target. You will still lose body fat. Keto does not give you that option. You can't do it like Monday and Tuesday.
And out of it.
Then eat bread and come out of it and go back into it the next day because it takes you days to get back to it.
And let's not even think about just the level of what it's actually doing to your body. Let's actually think about what this is doing to your mental relationship with food. Now, listen, I know more than most, what these crazy fad diets can do to your body. I did so many of them. I really, really damaged my body on these fad diets. But what it also did, it just skewed my relationship with food, how I viewed it. It becomes an obsession. And what we're doing is, we're counting the calories. It rules our life in the end, and we see it as the enemy. We don't see food anymore the way we should see it. It is nurturing, it is nourishing, it should be enjoyed. And with any of these diets, particularly keto, it's just, really, really increasing the levels of which you are obsessing about food. And that's no way to live.
No.
There is another way. You don't have to keep battling with your body like this. And listen, at midlife, I know that so many things are changing. It's harder to lose the fat. It's harder to stay on track. But it is the worst thing you could do is go for one of these fad diets because your metabolic rate is already slowing down. You're already losing muscle mass. I don't want to depress anyone, but we're just, you're losing those things anyway. What you want to do is really regain control of your mindset around food first and foremost. Start seeing it in a healthy, balanced way. Find ways where you're not restricting yourself and harming yourself.
Yeah. I mean, look, you're looking at a diet plan, a lifestyle plan, in effect, where you're taking out one of the main macro groups that your body and your brain and your nervous system needs to function.
We've had this no carbs before marbs, and it's just, it's insane that carbohydrates have become the enemy like this, and that everyone is pushing this because, what we're going to do, we're actually going to finish with like a few little tips. And I know we've talked about this maybe in another podcast somewhere, but so carbohydrates are not the enemy. We need them to function.
Absolutely not. Let's go back to that Lancet study. We should be having between 50 to 55% of our diet from carbohydrates. The problem is too many of us eat the wrong kind of carbohydrates. Overly processed, overly heavy carbohydrates, or a lot of high GI carbohydrates that release their energy very quickly into your body.
Things like white pasta, white rice, white bread, those sorts of things.
Yeah, so that's causing an insulin response, and that's probably a topic for another time. But this also, when you're eating high sugar foods, that's creating an insulin seesaw, which again is linked to you holding on to body fat. So what we want to do is make sure our carbohydrates are natural sources, that we're getting lots of leafy greens, lots of green vegetables, small amounts of fruit, natural. What we want to avoid is anything that comes in a packet, anything that's overly processed. And unfortunately, these days that does mean bread. You think about a loaf of bread, the bread that our great-grandfather or even our grandparents would have eaten would be completely different to a loaf of bread today. In those days, from the field to the mill to the bakery, and then it's baked and you have it. Whereas now, bread can sit on the shelf for weeks and still be okay.
Yeah, you've got to ask yourself some questions about that. But it's about so we talk a lot about the timing of carbohydrates, don't we? We'll get up. So how does that translate into real life? So it might be helpful for us to explain how we translate that into carbohydrates in our life. So we get up in the morning and we have oats.
Yeah.
Carbohydrate.
So this is the principal thing. It's our main energy source, but we're moving through the day, so we front load our carbs in the day.
Exactly.
So we have oats, great low GI source. Oats are high in fibre and release the energy very slowly, long tail release, which is what we want.
We have them in a yummy smoothie that I am addicted to every single morning. Yummy smoothie that James makes. And then, we have that front loaded. You need them for energy, concentration. Lunchtime, what do we normally have around lunchtime? Sometimes we'll have carbs.
Yeah, well, often we will. I put some rice or some grains of some sort with a grilled bit of fish or something like that.
So I'd prefer to have my carbohydrates then. So a little bit of rice for me, something like that. And then after about 4:00 in the afternoon, we completely dial back the carbohydrates, and we don't really have any of those carbohydrates that we talked about. The rice, the pasta. But obviously we have meat, fish, or veggies, and that's our evening meal.
Yeah.
So that's it in a practical sense.
Yeah, I'd say look at it, around 50% of your diet from carbohydrates. If you're looking to lose a bit more fat over the short term, you could reduce to around 45-40%, but not stay at that 40% level for too long. And just increase your healthy protein and your healthy fats, because this will also, top tip here, eating your protein and your fats first will trigger your leptin and make you feel fuller, faster,
nice
and
little
for longer.
hack there. Little hack. Actually makes a world of difference. We've actually had people say that makes a difference. Eat your protein and fats, and then your carbohydrates. Yeah, you haven't got as much room for them because it's triggered leptin. So we hope that was helpful. James and I will rant all day about fad diets. We're sorry, but not sorry, because we really, really believe that you should know and be educated on what's behind all the fancy names, all the celebrities touting that this is the miracle pill or the miracle diet, and you deserve to know. And at midlife, it's all a little bit confusing anyway, and let's just cut out one of the things that you don't need to be confused about, and that is fad diets. Don't do them. Find a balanced, healthy, flexible way to manage your
and we'd love to hear
diet.
Your thoughts on this and your experiences. If you've tried it, whatever, pop them through to us on the Facebook page or email us.
Yeah.
And remember, kids, just say no to keto.
He didn't practice that, by the way. Say no to keto. We love you guys so much, and we appreciate all of your support. Okay, take care.
Bye. You've been listening to the Midlife Mentors with Claire and James Davis.
We'd love to hear from you. So drop us a line at info@themidlifementors.com with any questions or topic suggestions.
And make sure you join us on our Facebook page and YouTube channel. You can find us under The Midlife Mentors.
Yeah.